They have a minute, yeah. Because there's two.
Maybe if you could put your hand up for 5, like just a little like that, that would be helpful.
Hello, I'm Janise Smith, and it brings me great pleasure to be your moderator alongside Dave Hardy. We are here for the day of the great debate in Scarborough. Now, it's a public forum that really is intended to connect our community residents with our Scarborough candidates so that, you know, we can get a few of our questions answered and we can become a little bit more informed when it is time for election, which is October the 22nd. So I would like to welcome all the candidates at this time that is running for Ward 20. So, you know, I welcome you guys, and I'm glad that you woke up early this morning so that we can have a nice, strong debate. And our audience members, thank you for coming. And we are also streamlining, or live streaming, sorry. This is live TV. We are live streaming at www.netwinplays.com/live. So you in the audience, if you want to share that with some of the people who are not able to be here, that would be fantastic. At this time, I would like to go over the format for this coming debate. Each of the candidates will make an opening statement with no interruptions. They will then be given 2 questions that we have prepared in advance, and you guys were given the questions in advance. The next set of questions are going to come from the audience members. Each candidate will have 1 minute to answer all of the questions. You will also, before you answer the questions, you will also have an opportunity to make opening statements. And then after the questions are over, you'll have an opportunity to have closing statements. Now, you will also be given an opportunity to rebut 2 of the questions from your opponents who are running against you. If you choose to not use any of those rebuttal cards, those 2 cards, which is 30 seconds each, will be added to your closing statement. So your closing statement can go anywhere from 30 seconds to 1.5 minutes. All right, so is everybody okay with that? I just wanted to also let you know that this debate, this section, Ward 20, could not have been done without our sponsors. And the sponsor for this ward is SNAP Scarborough. It is a community paper that helps you stay connected, and we help business grow by promoting you and by developing marketing campaigns that includes free PR. So without further ado, let's the debate begin. We will start with Gerard Arbor.
Hello. Thank you to SNAP Scarborough for this opportunity. As a first-time candidate, I really do appreciate this opportunity. My name is Gerard T Arbor. I'm a lifelong Scarborough resident. I've lived in Scarborough Southwest for the last 25 years and had a chiropractic practice. I've been involved in many things with the community, from shoreline initiatives to revitalization efforts to task forces and all sorts of things like that. And I just feel that there is a disconnect currently with Scarborough and downtown Toronto, and being a resident of Ward 20, I feel there's a current disconnect with our current councillor who does not live in the ward. So we're going to talk a lot of things today, but I think that for Scarborough, when it comes to transit, when it comes to speeds and safety, we are so far behind the times after amalgamation. It is quickly becoming our time for Scarborough, and I hope to represent. Thank you.
Thank you, Gerard. Gary?
Thank you. First of all, I want to thank, of course, SNAP Scarborough and all my candidates, the fellow candidates who are coming out today. I'm running for re-election to continue being your city councillor downtown at City Hall. I raised my family in Scarborough Southwest because of the great neighborhoods, the wonderful friends I've met, the great schools, and the real sense of community. As the budget chair for the City of Toronto, I bring a very strong voice down to City Hall on your behalf in the community, but also Scarborough's behalf, to bring that strong voice down to City Hall. And with my experience, you can depend on me to work hard, to be there for you, to get the things done that you want to get done, and to continue to be that strong voice. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Michelle?
Thank you. So Again, it's Michelle Holland-Berardinetti, and I've lived in the heart of Scarborough Southwest for almost 15 years, and absolutely love my community. I've met so many friends, I have my family there, and I've made it my home. I've been elected since 2010, and I've served on the most important committees downtown at City Hall. I'm also the first chief advocate for the innovation economy ever at the City of Toronto, and my focus has always been on my residents. My community is number one to me. My absolute focus is delivering for the residents and making sure that I get the job done. So I just want you to know that I'm going to be there and continue to advocate and be a strong voice at City Hall.
Thank you, Michelle. John?
Hello, my name is John Letonja. I'm going to get right to the point. I will respect taxpayers, stop discrimination and wasteful spending at City Hall, and get more money for your tax dollars. I will I'll let people have an online voting. So basically, it's a referendum, so everybody's going to participate. You're my boss, I'm not your boss. Like, you know, I'm just one of these people that will help you. I will help for people better lives living in the area, for better, you know, what you need to be done, I'll do it for you. So that's the best way I can say. If you vote for me, if I don't do it, what I'm saying, I'm not voting anymore. I'm not going to be running anymore. So this is what I'm saying. This is like one-shot term. I'm going to help you out, and that's the best way I can do for you. And to transit, I'll definitely work on transit because buses need to be we're 24 hours service, right? Okay, thank you.
Thank you, John. Robert?
Hello, my name is Robert McDermott. I'm running for city councillor here in Ward 20. I'm with Free Scarborough, and I grew up in Scarborough and worked as a realtor for the past 25 years in the area. We really need change in Ward 20. Right now, we have an amalgamated agenda in Scarborough. Both incumbent councillors seem to want to look after the downtown Toronto core and ignore Scarborough. So what we want to do is basically get our city council back, get our own elected mayor and council, so that we can deal with our own local communities and neighborhoods the way we want to, not the way Toronto wants to dictate to us. That's what we've been getting from these two incumbent councillors in the last 8 years, and we need to change direction. A new ward, a new councillor, and a new vision for Ward 20. Thank you.
Thank you, Robert. Roy?
Good morning, everybody. A husband, a father, and a resident of the ward. That's how you describe Roy, and that's me. I've been in the ward from the time I landed in this country, and I've got the experience. I've worked in City Hall for over 10 years as the Board of Health and the Food Policy Council member. I've written the first food strategy for the City of Toronto. I've got the experience, new ideas, and that's what Ward 20 needs in Scarborough. Thank you.
Thank you, Roy. And last but certainly not least, Curtis.
Thank you. Good morning. My name is Curtis Smith. I live in Cliff Crest with my spouse and a house full of pets. I served for 24 years as an officer in the Canadian Forces, and I currently work as a lawyer with a professional regulator in downtown Toronto. The leadership skills I obtained in the Canadian Forces, combined with the advocacy skills that I have as a lawyer, make me an outstanding choice to represent you in what is going to be a vastly different City Hall. Thank you.
Thank you all for your great opening and passionate opening statement. I am going to let Roy take this first question, and then we'll work it in the reverse order. So the first question is, if elected, what do you propose to accomplish for the people of your ward? Roy, we'll start with you.
With me?
I'm sorry. Curtis, we'll start with you.
Okay, thank you. The short answer to that question is engagement. I want an ongoing relationship with the residents of Scarborough Southwest. I want to go to City Hall with a clear and concise mandate of what residents actually want. I would love it if I was able to push the agendas of any meetings that I would be attending as councillor out to the residents before I actually attended to them so I could get some input from them. Both in the military and in the legal jobs that I have had over the course of my career, this type of early engagement was encouraged and was greatly beneficial. One example of the early engagement that I'd like to suggest is in regards to the Planning Act, Section 37 funds that we can get from developers when new buildings are being developed. These funds are meant to address local community projects. The guidelines for these funds say that there should be predetermined projects that are on a list so that you can fund them when you actually get the money. I cannot find any record of this type of consultation happening in Ward 20, and I would suggest this is just one example of a lack of engagement that I would rectify immediately. Thank you.
Roy?
You are hiring me to do a job, and I'm going to deliver on that job. I'm going to engage, as Curtis mentioned, that's the key thing, and I'm going to show up. I'm going to show up to the council. I'm going to show up to the committees that I'll be representing. The other biggest thing in our ward is safety, road safety and crime safety. That will be in my top of my priority to address those issues. We see the accidents, the level of pedestrian unsafe things happening in our ward, and that is what we need to address. Economic development, creating jobs and supporting businesses. That's another one. And my key one will be the poverty reduction and food strategy implementation. Our ward is one of the poorest wards in the city of Toronto today, and it has been for the last 8 years, and it's time to make the change.
Robert?
Yes, what I propose to do, like many cities in the United States and Europe have done, is I will create a ward council. What a ward council is, it's a local group consisting of the local councillor in the area, community leaders from different groups, and any resident that wants to participate in that ward council. We don't have them in Toronto now, we should have them. All we have now is we've got community councils where local politicians sit. You might get the odd people come out to these community councils, but they're useless, absolutely useless. We need a local council so that we can bring local residents out to a council meeting where we discuss our local issues and citywide issues, and we vote on them, and that councillor then takes those issues to City Hall. This is what we need. We need more engagement, especially for Scarborough. We've been left out for the last 20 years.
Thank you, Robert. Your time. Thank you, Robert.
Yeah, my agenda is to get tough enough for crime. Like we have, I know it's done by the PC government or whatever, but it's like we have bylaws. So bylaws is going to be basically strict. So if someone kills somebody, it's life in sentence. Or someone has a gun, they have basically without permit, it's 10 years in sentence. Also, discrimination, like people want to build a house or something like that. There's too much red tape. And we need to get that done, type of thing. And apartment buildings and all that kind of stuff. It's too small. Everything's just basically build thing, but it's not for health and safety wise, because everything's being deteriorated. And I see it all the time. So that's the way I need to fix the problem. I want to treat people respect, and I need to get everybody to be involved. So you can all vote, if yes or no. You tell me, and I'll stand up for you. And because we're all city, we're all basically we all are together. Thanks.
Thank you, John. Michelle.
Thanks, Denise. So again, there's so many issues in Ward 20, which was previously Ward 35 and Ward 36 in Scarborough Southwest. There's many concerns across the board. But the central theme that I keep hearing, especially in the last few years, is definitely focused on traffic. So whether that be traffic calming measures or transit, we need more transit in our area with rapid transit and rapid buses. So those are the top two issues that I'm hearing clear across Ward 20. The third issue is obviously development. We have an immense amount of development coming in on Kingston Road, and we have to make sure that it's moderated and in line with the community. We also have to make sure that that type of transit is going to affect those needs and meet the needs of the residents moving into this area. So those are the top three issues that I've heard clear across Ward 20. And I'm going to make sure that I'm focusing on those three, and I'm delivering results, as I always have, to the residents. I live there as well, and I want to make sure that I meet every need of the community.
Thank you, Michelle. Gary?
Thank you very much. I'm going to continue, as I have done over the last year as a city councillor, to be a strong voice for this community, the new community of Ward 20, and of course, all of Scarborough. When you're looking at the priorities that are out there, and as Michelle has said, safety is the #1 issue. Keeping our communities and roads safe. We need to continue doing that in whatever capacity. But we also have to look at protecting the integrity of our neighborhoods. Development is happening. The city is growing, and we're seeing that all across Ward 20. We need to continue to keep the integrity of our neighborhoods. Transit is a big issue. We need to continue building transit in Scarborough. We need to continue building local transit, like the continuous bus route on Kingston Road. And also after that, we need to, as we're looking at the city, we need to continue to keep our taxes low, but at the same time, making the important investments to make this city grow. Thank you.
Thank you, Gary. Gerard?
Okay. If elected, I think the word you can count on is engagement. I will be empowering community leaders to step up and have regular contact with their councillor. Community associations will be formed. There will be task force with tasks and force. There will be regular meetings with police officers, community police officers, to keep in touch with the pulse of the safety and the concerns of the residents of the ward are. There'll be response, and there'll be interaction with the people. It will not require 2,200 signatures for a TTC bus route that's continuous along Kingston Road, or 1,000 signatures for street safety lights on McCowan Road. I will be a strong voice for Scarborough. I'll be in regular touch with our residents, and I'll also be a strong voice for Scarborough. I think we can do a lot better than a one-stop subway extension. We have to have a rapid transit network developed for Scarborough. It is our time.
Well, thank you. Thank you all for your answering the first question. I see that there's a couple of accomplishments that you hope to accomplish once you become elected. And it leads me to the second question in terms of maybe pinning down maybe one of the key issues you think that your ward is suffering, or an issue with your ward that you would like to ensure you solve if you're elected. And we will start. We'll start with Gary, actually, and then we'll go this way, and then Gerard, you'll be last. So Gary?
Thank you very much.
Yes.
1 minute. Thank you very much. The key issue that I have been hearing for years, I've been hearing knocking at the doors as I'm speaking with people over the last couple of months, is safety in our communities. Safety on our roads to ensure that when children are going to school in the morning, it's a safe route to get there. I've had the opportunity as a councillor to look at some of the issues we need to deal with on safety. Putting in sidewalks where they need to be put in. We have put in a number of sidewalks, whether it's been on Glen Everest, it's been on Midland, it's been on Brooklawn, to ensure that kids can get to their schools safe. But also road safety, putting in stop signs, lowering the speed limits, specifically on Kingston Road, looking at other ways and other measures to bring in traffic calming. Safety is incredibly important in the community, I've heard that, but also when you're looking at overall safety in the city, ensuring that we have a safe city to live in, and that is also a priority that I'll be working on. Thank you.
Thank you. So Gary's #1 is safety. Michelle, what is your one issue?
Yes, so I would say it's actually the same. So obviously we're hearing from the residents, and we're hearing that over and over again, that traffic safety is the #1 issue clear across Ward 20. So whether that be implementing the school safety zone, which we've done in Oak Ridge and Samuel Hearn, which is the first pilot in all of Toronto. So we're happy to see that right in Scarborough Southwest. And I would also say that any type of traffic infiltration, any of these traffic calming measures, stop signs, whether that be speed reductions or photo radar, we have to make sure that we're implementing it in the right spot and making sure that we actually implement it. Time and time again, I hear from residents that they want to make sure that we're getting the measures that we have, and I've been implementing them. So traffic, definitely traffic safety is #1. In Ward 20, I'm going to make sure that we get that done.
John, I see you nodding your head. Is safety one of your main issues that you hope to kind of resolve once you become, if you become elected as the councillor?
Yeah, I'd like to get everybody to vote for what goes on in City Hall. If it's safety, everything. I mean, the whole issue. Like you are the people that tells me I'm just one person. Okay, I'm only one man, and I'd like for you to say if it's for safety, for building, for anything that you want to do, I'll give it to you first, and then you can respond back to me, and then the majority will go that way. It's not my vote. It's your vote, and that's why I'm trying to do. So if it's like I'm against crime, I'm against everything else, but I want everybody to like for transit, I'm for it. Like, but I want people like yourself to be a part of it. If you're not a part of it, then guess what? Then we're not doing anything good here because it's all one-sided here at City Hall or any government. And I just want to be able to emphasize that, and I want you to be a part of everything that City Hall does. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, John. So you're opening up to the people to kind of direct you in terms of what your main issue would be that you would like to solve. You're opening up to the people to kind of give you that guidance.
Yeah, the guidance,
Okay.
yeah, because I want the people to respond, right? I mean, because I'm going to say, email everybody, and then they'll just come back with me, and they'll say yes or no, and they'll give me a reason why, and everything else, like you tell me yes or
Okay.
no. Right?
All right. Thank you. Robert?
Transit by far is the most important issue for not only Ward 20, but Scarborough in general. I'm a strong supporter of public transit, and I support a 24-stop LRT for Scarborough. It's more affordable, accessible, and it passes through 3 priority neighborhoods in Scarborough. We have better representation for riders, and the service would be much better. I do not support a one-stop station, or a subway extension, I should say, as the 2 incumbent councillors. It will do nothing to improve transit in Scarborough. We need a network, our own Scarborough network, that will serve transit riders in Scarborough. I support Scarborough Transit Action and TTC riders, advocacy groups for TTC riders, and anybody who supports public transit in Scarborough.
Thank you, Robert. Does anybody want to rebut any of the questions or the comments before I move to Roy?
Not yet.
Okay, Roy.
I like that. I think a couple of our current councillors and everybody's talking about safety. That's absolutely what we're hearing at the door. But what we are not talking about is the root cause, the economic disparity that is in Ward 20. And that is something that needs to be looked into, then everything else will fall in place. The economic disparity that we see it on a regular basis from one street to the other. We have the developments coming in certain areas, not the other. We need uniform developments across the ward. And that will help poverty reduction, that will help transit, that will help the vehicle calming, that will help safety. It all is combined to one, the economic disparity. And as your councillor, that will be my priority to hit the root cause and not just temporary solutions that we have been seeing for the last little while.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Roy. Curtis.
Thank you. I would suggest that the overarching issue is public safety itself, and I look at a very wide definition of what constitutes public safety, everything from gun violence down to many of the traffic things that have been mentioned here already. There's all sorts of secondary issues that flow out of that, and these are the root causes that we're talking about. We need to look at poverty and poverty reduction. We need to look at smart development that makes affordable housing and well-designed communities. We need to have economic development so businesses can thrive, so we can have jobs and we can have services. We also need the roads, the transit, and the other infrastructure so that people can move around in our ward appropriately. I believe that we need to look at every initiative that City Council has under the lens of public safety. And I have experience in that from my peace-building efforts when I served in Afghanistan as a legal advisor. That is how we made most of our decisions. Residents want a counselor with this ability, and I think that's how we have to focus any decisions that we make in the upcoming election and beyond. Thank you.
Well, thank you all for your questions and your response. Gerard, sorry.
That's all right. Okay. I talked earlier about engagement, and I think the one thing that flows from engagement will be active management and community empowerment by being more informed. So with that in mind, we can address and start to take control of some of the things that do not feel like they're in our control, whether it's street safety, whether it's all the people coming to the bluffs and flooding the area and the community and not handling the traffic patterns very well. We can become a voice for Kingston Road revitalization, and now with the works that are going on, Eglinton with the Crosstown LRT, support of the businesses is very important. So by having an information package and regular communication, we can, as a councillor and living in the ward, I think I'm pretty well in touch with how to stay informed, by keeping people informed, to support the businesses and keep in tune with some of the issues that are really seem out of control at this point.
Thank you. It seems that safety and transportation seems to be what is coming to the front in terms of some of the main issues that you candidates, if get elected, would like to solve, as well as engagement. Now, just before I throw it over to Dave Hardy and get the questions that the audience have written when they came in to listen to this debate, I wanted to find out if there's anybody that would like to rebut any of the questions or the comments so far. All right. This is a nice, friendly debate. I like it. Now, I am going to throw it over to Dave Hardy, who has looked at the questions, and he is going to now ask some questions based on our audience member that woke up nice and early to be here. So, Dave?
Thank you, Janise. I've got two questions, and I must say what a pleasure it is as an urban planner to be on the other side and asking questions of politicians. And you've presented yourself as intelligent, passionate, so it's a great thrill to be working with you. First question has to do with public transit. And in light of the Premier wanting to upload TTC subways and privatizing subway maintenance via public-private partnerships, 3 Ps, what's your position on privatizing the TTC and subways? Do you support or not keeping public transit keeping transit public, and why? Gerard, why don't we start with you?
I think keeping transit public is in the best interests of the residents of Toronto, the City of Toronto. It will hold accountability to the city. It will keep things affordable for people to afford public transit. And going forward, I think that just sums about what I feel on the issue.
Good, thank you. Gary?
Well, the TTC is an incredibly important part of Toronto. It's an incredibly important part of moving people around. I've had the opportunity as a budget chair to work very closely with the TTC to ensure that we provide the proper kind of investments to continue growing. And we have grown the TTC over the last number of years with increased investments to the TTC. With regard to the potential of uploading some of the subways to the province, I need to look at this a little bit further, and I'll use one example. Again, when we built the subway up to Vaughan, I'm aware in my role as the budget chair that there were cost overruns of upwards of $500 million in cost overruns. And I'm not suggesting the TTC did a bad job, but we need to ensure that whoever builds the subways in this city does it in the way that it is efficient, it saves money, and they're done on budget. Thank you.
Good, thank you. Michelle?
Thank you. So again, I think that transit is one of the central issues in Ward 20, and I think clear across Scarborough and Toronto, obviously the GTA. I know the province is looking at this, but I also believe that TTC should be kept public. It's a major asset that we have with the City of Toronto. In fact, I have many of my friends, and I know very many people in Scarborough Southwest that are members of the TTC. They work at the TTC, and we want to make sure that we keep that in public hands. Now, I know that there are some 3P models that work. We've seen it provincially when they've built hospitals, but that is when they build additional infrastructure. So they're building the hospital from the get-go. This is not the case with the TTC. We have already managed it at the city, and it's something that we've done well. And I think that it's something we have to continue to manage and to make sure that we deliver it in an efficient way and in a fast way, and we need more of it, and we need to be building more of it. Thank you.
Good, thank you. John?
Yeah, I used to work for TTC, the Queensway Division of the Bus Terminal. My opinion is everything should be modified, like in a sense, but Toronto should keep the TTC. And the reason why I'm saying that is because see, we're spending more money on infrastructure. We're not spending more money in tracks no more, or whatever it is. Because you're building mausoleum stations and all that kind of stuff. We want the city to move. We want more 24-hour buses. Like basically, because Scarborough and whatever it is, it's like one bus going down one route and another bus. So I want one bus to go all over the place to get down to where it's supposed to go. So it's a lot easier to go because people work 24 hours. And I also, I want more transit, I want faster transit, and I want better transit. And I want to keep the money low. I mean, the price of the pay for the fare box is low, and that's what I want to try to get everything going, working. Because I know I've been there, I see it all the time.
Thank you. Robert?
Yes, I'm a strong supporter and always have been of public transit. I don't believe privatized transit would serve the best interests of riders, especially in Scarborough. With this ludicrous, overpriced one-stop subway extension, it's something that we'll be paying for the next 30 years out of our tax dollars. And this started in 2014. It's going to continue for another 30 years. You're going to be paying for it on your tax bill, this one-stop extension. We need a 24-stop LRT in Scarborough, an affordable, accessible transit network for Scarborough transit riders. That's what we need. I've been endorsed by Scarborough Transit Action, an advocacy group for the transit riders, and we will continue to strive for public transit.
Thanks. Go ahead, Roy.
Some things needs to be public, and transit is one of them. In our city, there are a couple of questions here that we are in the cusp of answering. One, should transit be public or privatized? And the other, should it stay in the city or go to the province? We have been doing a great job. If you know the history of TTC, it was private at one point. There's a reason why it came to the city. There's a reason why it came to public hands, because it wasn't working. Are we really want to take it back again? Are we moving forward, or we want to step back and go back into the 1950s, 1960s? So that is another big question that we need to think about. I'm a strong supporter of keeping the TTC in the hands of the city. It works. It's not a liability. It is an asset. It is the service that the city and every resident like you and me, we need to go to our jobs, to have our daily life. I'm one of the only prospective councillors who take TTC day in, day out. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Roy. And Curtis?
Thank you. I also take TTC, so I can speak from a certain level of experience here. We're going to be 7 for 7. I do agree with keeping transit public here, not privatizing it. In order to keep the decisions at the lowest level and to be able to make tweaks to the TTC, we need to keep it at our level at the City of Toronto. The only way we're going to be able to appropriately and quickly look at fares to make it affordable for people, the way we can make amendments to routes, is to keep it at the local level. If it goes provincial or even privatized, we're not going to be able to have that amount of ability to make changes. Now, the province should play a role in this. I will completely go along that. They should be supplying some money, because that is part of their mandate as the province. And they could also assist in any coordination between municipalities so that we can get Cross into Durham or Peel or whatever else we need for the transit, so that it is effective for people coming into Toronto proper. Thank you.
Good. Thanks, Curtis, and thanks for all of you. Any rebuttals at all to any comments you've heard? You're so polite. Well, Curtis, you mentioned money, and so I'm going to throw the next question your way to begin with. You know, city services include policing and road maintenance, garbage collection, recreation, parks. Would you support property tax increases to improve services in your ward, or are the services fine as they are?
I don't think the services are fine as they are. I think we do need to make amendments. If we aspire to be a city of the future, we're going to need to make investments. So it's a question of how we get the money to make those investments. There's lots of talk about how we get more revenue within the City of Toronto. Property taxes may have to go up somewhat. We've tried to keep them capped to the rate of inflation. I would prefer not to raise them, but there may be a requirement to do that. But that would come through consult with the local residents to ensure that it is palatable. But what we need to look at is looking at getting some more revenue from other places. For instance, and I'm not advocating this, but one of the suggestions was tolls to get some roads going. We should get some more user pay things. If you are using a service, perhaps you should have to pay for it, and that could be done on an income-based scale. If you can afford it, maybe you should pay for it. So property taxes are a tough one because we do pay a lot of property taxes, but that is just one of the major revenue streams, and we may have to consider looking at raising it slightly. Again, limiting it as much as we possibly can. Thank you.
Thanks, Roy.
We have a lot to do, especially when it comes to services. We are not where it should be. You look at the roads in Scarborough Southwest, you would know what I'm talking about. That is just one, but do we need to raise property taxes? We need to get the money somewhere. And as Curtis said, I'm totally in sync with him in the part that we need to find ways to get the money. And does it have to be property taxes? Maybe from people who can afford. Maybe we could think about a tiered system based on affordability. And that is something we can look into. I don't know if that is the right solution because I haven't really worked out the numbers, but that is a possibility. But the key will be to look into infrastructure dollars from every other source that we possibly can think of to get our infrastructure and our roads, our services in line.
Okay, thank you. Robert?
Yes, for the past 20 years since Scarborough was amalgamated with Toronto, we've seen our property taxes skyrocket and our services have declined. We've lost the ability to manage our own municipal affairs in Scarborough. What's happening is the tax dollars from Scarborough are going to downtown Toronto. They're being used for projects in downtown Toronto. The money is not coming back to Scarborough to service our communities and neighborhoods where we live, work, and play. That's not the way it works. This is one of the reasons Free Scarborough wants to de-amalgamate and get our city back. We want our own city council with our own mayor, our own councillors, so we can make our own decisions that affect our residents here in Scarborough. Do I think we should raise taxes? I think we should look at how money is being spent at City Hall. There's many, many projects that have gone over budget, as Gary had mentioned. It shouldn't happen. We need an accountability office or somebody who is accountability for costs at City Hall. This is what we need.
Thank you. John?
Yeah, I'm not in favor. I'm not going to raise taxes, definitely for me, but I'm going to make new money for the city. The reason why that I'm going to start opening up a TV station, and for the arts and all that kind of stuff, and I'll pay for that my own money. I'm not going for your money type of thing. I'm going to go try to get some investors to do it type of thing, and it's all the money that's going. The city's going to own it. Also, for starting a new sports game, basically, I'll pay for that too. But it's called fastball, and definitely because we got the fields and it's free, I might as well do it so everybody can get it to invest in that. And the city's going to own that too. So the taxes has gone, not for me, because I'm not going to, there's ways of cutting, says wasteful spending in the City Hall. There's roads being torn up, especially when it's paved brand new for 4 years and it's all of a sudden ripped up again and all that kind of stuff. We need to fix that. I mean, we can't keep on putting money and throwing it in the garbage, right? Because we need the infrastructure, we need transit, we need everything else. Everything's going to happen, but I'm not raising your taxes. I guarantee you that.
Thank you. Michelle?
Thank you. So I had the opportunity as serving as a member of the Budget Committee for 6 years, so the first term and then half of this term. And it's really a deep dive into the finances at the city. And what I learned was that much of the money is coming back here to Scarborough. That's number one. And we're making sure, if you're a member of that committee, you're making sure that those tax dollars are returning to Scarborough, and especially to your ward in Scarborough Southwest. That'd be number one. We want to make sure that taxes, when it comes to our property taxes, that they're at or below the rate of inflation. So we've always maintained that. Every single time I've been on Budget Committee, I made sure that we were holding the line on taxes. That's number one. The reason why is because we've looked at alternative revenue tools. We have looked at that in the past. We looked at it last term. There was a multitude of revenue tools, and guess what? They need to be implemented. Number one, a hotel tax. We have to look at that. Many cities do that around the world. It is an absolute revenue tool that we need to use. Number two, if we do use, I'll wrap that up, just road tolls, it should be focused on residents who don't live in the city, and there is a technology for that. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gary?
Thank you. I've had the privilege to work with the mayor over the last 4 years as his budget chair to manage the budget of the City of Toronto, to balance the budget every year. And we have done that over the last 4 years, keeping property taxes low, but at the same time doing the proper and important investments in the city. And let me name a few. Over $100 million in poverty reduction we have invested in this city. Historic increases to the TTC, $80 million alone last year. We've been able to do that, but at the same time keeping property taxes low. My commitment will be continuing to do that. In the budgets over the last 4 years, we have saved over $100 million, $25, $30 million a year. Managing the money properly is an incredibly important aspect of what I do as the budget chief. I will be continuing to do that if I have the privilege of coming back as the city councillor for Ward 20 and possibly as the budget chair. Thank you.
Thank you. And Gerard?
Well, I think we have to look at, again, as someone mentioned, new revenue streams, efficiencies and accountability of where the money's going these days. To hold the line on taxes, I keep reading in these pamphlets, but my taxes aren't exactly going down, especially running a business. They went up rather substantially this year, having a business on Kingston Road. Now, when it comes to service, in many, I think it's self-evident living in Scarborough that since amalgamation, service levels have gone down dramatically. I mean, you just look at the state of Kingston Road. You've got weeds that go 1.5 feet high before they get cut. If you have a business on Kingston Road, the plows come down and they bury your business, and then the privateers that come along and do the sidewalks make 2 piles that bury the businesses in again. So efficiencies, accountability, new revenue streams are paramount in keeping taxes reasonable, but again, there has to be a lot better service and more police service as well.
Good, thank you, and thank you all. Again, there was some difference of opinion. I don't know if anyone wishes to use the rebuttal cards to continue your thoughts. Robert, go ahead.
Okay, Gary, I've got some concerns about your budget. I went to the budget meeting at the Scarborough Civic Center in January. Wanted to make I was to make a deputation for 5 minutes. You cut me off rudely and abruptly at that meeting. There was nothing in your budget, Gary, for Scarborough. The only capital project we've had in Scarborough in the last 20 years is your one-stop subway extension, which is going to cost $3.35 billion. We all know that that number is not correct. We all know that in the new year, that figure is going to jump to maybe $4 million or $4 billion. And you haven't been clear on what the real cost is going to be, and neither is Tory. What is the real cost going to be for this one-stop subway extension?
Do I need a rebuttal or do I just speak?
Go ahead.
Okay. With regard to this particular meeting that my friend down the way had commented on, we try to make sure that our council, our community council meetings are dealt with respect, and when people do not respect the integrity of that, there are times that the chair will have to step in to ensure that we have civility. With regard to Scarborough and the investments that we have been making investments in Scarborough. When you look at the streets, when you look at the transit that is happening in our water department, we're spending almost $1 billion a year in trying to fix the infrastructure, and that is happening all across Scarborough. When you're looking at transit, the importance of building transit in Scarborough. I'm of the opinion that we need to build transit. We need to build the subway that is going to Scarborough Town Centre. We do not want to have, and I can tell you one thing, my colleagues downtown would love to be able to bring this debate again. We've had it 8 times. We've all said we need to get rapid transit to the Scarborough Town Centre. And there are my colleagues that want to bring that downtown, debate it, and take the money away. I'm going to continue to fight for that money to ensure that it happens in Scarborough.
Robert,
Gary,
sorry, Robert. No, Robert, I'm going to cut you off.
I should be able to respond to him.
You're going to use your final rebuttal card, but I just want to find out if others want to jump in at all on any of these matters before I get back to you. Others? Gerard.
Okay. I'll just rebut on Councillor Crawford. Seems to be advocating for better transit in Scarborough, but he's also pushing out a one-stop Scarborough subway extension. Now, if we think about a one-stop subway extension in Scarborough, from Kennedy to the Scarborough Town Centre, that's akin to going from Main Street to Kennedy Station without Victoria Park and Warden. So how is that going to work for us? I don't think so. if the best that we can come up with is a one-stop subway extension in Scarborough, going to the Scarborough Town Center, then we have to look at the leadership that we have in Scarborough, if that's the best solution that come up. Sure, an LRT network along Eglinton East is going to be very helpful, but if we're going to do a subway, let's do it right. And if we're not going to do it right, then let's look at other options that are much more efficient. But do the subway right.
Gary, if you're going to respond, you'll use a card. Okay, so Robert?
Yeah. Do I use my other card, or is...
Your last card, yes.
Okay, I'll use it, yeah. So, Gary, you didn't answer my question. What is the amount going to be? You seem to want to avoid this question, you and John Tory. I've called this office so many times. You know the figure. The only reason you're holding off till next year is because this is an election year. You want to get elected. What is the real cost of this one-stop subway going to be? Tell us now.
Thank you, Robert, for the question. $3.35 billion is the
real cost.
Sorry, Robert, please excuse me.
Thank you, Robert.
Gary has the floor.
The real cost is $3.35 billion. All that money, by the way, has been allocated and has been funded. The provincial, the federal government, and the City of Toronto. By the way, if we turn around and redecide this, 8 times it's gone to City Council. 8 times we have said we need to build the subway to the Scarborough Town Centre. I'm very supportive of adding a couple of more subway stops. I know our Premier has made that commitment, and if he can do that, absolutely, because we can have the 3 stops, and that is what I want. But understanding that we need to build, my colleagues downtown want to take this debate away. They want to bring that $3.35 billion back downtown. And by the way, the provincial and federal governments won't allow that. And then we'll have nothing, another 10 years of not building transit in Scarborough. That is not acceptable to me.
Good, thank you. Any other rebuttals before we get into final closing remarks? Okay, so I've got Gerard, you've used 1 card, so it brings you now 30 seconds. Gary, we can knock you off 30 seconds. And Robert, you're done. So Janise, let's start perhaps with Gerard. You have 30 seconds.
Okay. Again, thanks to Snap Scarborough for this opportunity. It's been an interesting year to run for City Council for the first time, I have to tell you. What I will say is that this is not party politics here. I'm running as an independent. I am a Green, Conservative, Liberal, New Democrat, and I will represent Scarborough with a strong voice. I am a resident of the ward, and I think that should be a big factor in a lot of people's votes. If we always do what we've always done, we will always get what we always got. So it's time for change. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to go to Curtis. And Curtis, you have 1 minute and 30 seconds as you did not use any of your rebuttal cards. 1 minute and 30 seconds for... We're just allowing our timekeeper, Varesh.
Awesome, thank you. So this election campaign has been tumultuous up to this point. It probably will continue to be so. There's all sorts of issues out there that people are very passionate about, and that's great. We should be having these types of passionate debates. The province identified the size of the City Council as the issue, and that's why they passed the various bills that happened. And to a certain degree, I agree with the shrinkage of City Council. Having 47 people around a table is much more difficult than having 25 in order to get any real decisions made. But that's not the only issue. There has to be some consideration taken of the skills and the competencies, or lack thereof, of the people sitting around that table because they are dealing with our safety, security, and our quality of life. Councillors don't have an entitlement to their job. They must gain our trust, and they have a duty to do what the residents wish, and you need to be rating them on the basis of their demonstrated results and leadership. I would suggest that there is a lot of room out there, members, residents of Ward 20, for you to do that type of evaluation. I would submit to you that I am currently the best candidate for this job as your city councillor due to my leadership experience, due to my management experience, and due to the experience that I'm going to be bringing to the table as a lawyer, able to advocate for you for the things that you want to happen in this ward. And I ask for your vote on October 22nd. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Curtis. Roy, you have the same time at 1 minute and 30 seconds.
18 years ago, I came to this country with $42 in my pocket. Since the 3rd day, I entered the workforce, working 2, sometimes 3 jobs to make my ends meet. I know with what most of you are going through or have gone through in the past. And as a resident of Ward 20 in Southwest Scarborough, and the majority of my ward members are in the same shoes. We have over 60% immigrants in our ward. There are a few things I want you to remember when you go to vote on 22nd October. My couple of priorities has been make transit public, keep public transit in Scarborough, sustain funding for affordable housing, and this didn't come up in today's debate at all, which is really another key issue in our ward, is having housing affordable. Supporting the food strategy and the poverty reduction strategy. We in City Hall have been spending a lot of money coming up with these wonderful documents of the strategy, but not enough funding to support its execution. It is time to bring my experience, passion to City Hall. I've got the experience, I know what I'm doing, and I hope to get your vote on October 22nd. Think about it this way. Are you better off now than you were 8 years ago? Just think about this answer when you go to vote on October 22nd.
Thank you, Roy. Robert, you have 30 seconds of closing statement.
Thank you. We need change in Ward 20. Issues like affordable housing, gun violence, the transit issue, they're issues that are important in Ward 20, but they're also issues that are important throughout Scarborough. Our organization, Free Scarborough, wants to represent the interests of not only Ward 20, but all of people who are living in Scarborough. We want the best for us, not downtown Toronto. We need people elected that will represent the best interests of people that live in Scarborough, that we represent. The only way we can do that
Thank
is
you,
going
Robert.
to the...
Your time is up. John, you get 1 minute and 30 seconds as you did not use your rebuttal. I'm just giving my timekeeper, Varesh, some time to set. Okay, go ahead. 1 minute and 30, yes.
Okay, I really like Scarborough, and I really like Toronto and Hull and everything else. We need to get infrastructure done and everything else. And the Scarborough people are really good people, and I really want to get everybody involved. And, you know, if you go check my website, if I miss something, it's johnletonja.com. Check the website there, and then you can see what I want to do. I want to help the city. I want to make money for the city. I want to not waste taxpayers' money. And City Hall is doing a good job wasting taxpayers' money. And I just want to be able to fix everything up. And I want you as a voice to turn around and tell me when I email you, whatever, you have something, you have a good idea, you have an idea, you come back to me and you say, okay, I need this done, I will go for it. I mean, I'm in for it. I want Toronto to be #1, and I don't want like the Scarborough to be like a ghetto or something like that. I want something that things happen, right? So we can move around faster, better, safer, the whole works, right? So if you check my website, I really appreciate it. You know, I'll do the job best I can for you, and I will. Like I said, if I don't do it within 4 years, I guess what, I'm not running politics anymore because there's too much red tape. Thank you very much.
Thank you, John. Michelle, you also have 1 minute and 30 seconds. I'm just allowing my timekeepers giving me the thumbs up. Go ahead.
Thank you. And also want to thank SNAPT and also David with Scarborough Renewal. You're championing an item that I've been a huge champion on, which is Section 37, so thank you. And so I want to thank everybody for coming today, and my fellow candidates as well. Again, I live in the heart of Scarborough Southwest. It's my home, it's my community, it's where my friends and family are. I've served for 8 years and wish to serve again for another 4 years in the term of council. This will be a historic election. We do need a full governance review. Even with 25 councillors, it's not going to be the magic bullet. We have not had a full governance review since amalgamation, and we need to do that. It's been dysfunctional, highly dysfunctional. I worked at all 3 levels of government. I worked for Herb Gray when he was Deputy Prime Minister. I worked at the Ontario Legislature, and I've worked at City Hall. And it's the most dysfunctional level of government that I've ever seen. In that regard, I'm going to be focused on the redistribution of Section 37 money, as I mentioned, with Scarborough Renewals taking action on that. And we need redistribution to make sure that that funding is coming to Scarborough Southwest in Ward 20. And the second issue is that as Innovation Chief, I focused on our employment lands, which we're blessed to have. And we're seeing a revitalization with jobs and new manufacturing moving into our community, which should actually spike our economic level within Ward 20. I'll be working hard on that issue. Thank you, and I hope that you'll be supporting me on October 22nd, and I can count on your support.
Thank you, Michelle. Gary, you have a minute to make your closing statement.
First of all, I do want to thank SNAP Scarborough for hosting this, and I want to thank all my fellow candidates for coming out. Public service is incredibly important, and the fact that you're here is a testament to your commitment to the community. I care about the issues that are important to you. I've had the wonderful privilege to serve in public office for the last 15 years, 8 as a councillor, 7 as a school board trustee. I have an incredibly hard-working staff that works side by side with me. We have resolved over 14,000 issues to date. Last year alone, I attended or hosted over 100 community meetings. I work hard, I'll be there for you, and with where we're going in the 25 council seat arrangement, we're going to have to ensure that we work incredibly hard. I care about those issues, and those issues are about community safety. It's about keeping our roads safe. It is about protecting the integrity of our communities and neighborhoods. It is also about transit, supporting better transit, and working to ensure that we have local transit for the citizens of Scarborough. Thank you. Hope for your vote on October 22nd.
Thank you, and that is a perfect way to wrap it up. I agree with what Gary says. I thank you all for coming, and that, you know, being a part of the community and being publicly engaged like this, we know that you want to make a difference for our Scarborough. So we thank each and every one of you for, you know, taking the torch and putting your hat in the ring and running as a candidate for Ward 20. We wish you all good luck, and we wish you, the audience, to make sure you go out there and make it count, vote for whichever candidate you think spoke to you the loudest today. And I thank you all for coming out, and I hope you guys stay tuned for the next upcoming debate, which is Ward 21, and it's happening in around 15 minutes. So that we're streaming live, yes? Second time is a charm. Please tune in to those audience out there online. So thank you all, and thank you guys for a lively debate, and thank you, Dave Hardy.